night may appear paradoxically as a way to return to living. It pares life down to its essentials and helps you get a new start. Here I want to explore positive contributions of your dark nights, painful though they may be. I don't want to romanticize them or deny their dangers. I don't even want to suggest that you can always get through them. But I do see them as opportunities to be transformed from within, in ways you could never imagine. A dark night is like Dante getting sleepy, wandering from his path, mindlessly slipping into a cave. It is like Alice looking at the mirror and then going through it. It is like Odysseus being tossed by stormy waves, and Tristan adrift without an oar. You don't choose a dark night for yourself. It is given to you. Your job is to get close to it and sift it for its gold. You probably know more about the depths of your soul from periods of pain and confusion than from times of comfort. Darkness and turmoil stimulate the imagination in a certain way. They allow you to see things you might ordinarily overlook. You become sensitive to a different spectrum of emotion and meaning. You perceive the ultraviolet extremes of your feelings and thoughts, and you learn things you wouldn't notice in times of normalcy and brightness. A dark night of the soul is not extraordinary or rare. It is a natural part of life, and you can gain as much from it as you can from times of normalcy. Just look around at your friends and acquaintances. One is going through a divorce. Another's mother is seriously ill. A young child has been hurt in an accident. Another can't get a job. Several are depressed and acting strangely. This is today's list in my own life, and it doesn't even include the threat of war and the fear of terrorism. Each of these involves both suffering and discovery. If you give all your effort to getting rid of your dark night, you may not learn its lessons or go through the important changes it can make for you. I want to encourage you to enter the darkness with all your strength and intelligence, and perhaps find a new vision and a deeper sense of self. Even if the source is external, a crime, rape, an abortion, being cheated, business pressure, being held captive, or the threat of terrorism, you can still discover new resources in yourself and a new outlook on life. We are not out to solve the dark night, but to be enriched by it. The phrase dark night of the soul comes from the Spanish mystic and poet John of the Cross. John was a member of the Christian religious order of Carmelites, and along with St. Teresa of Avila, tried to reform that order. Many in the order were so against reform that they imprisoned John for 8 months, during which he wrote a series of remarkable poems. His later writing is chiefly commentary on those poems, one of them entitled Dark Night of the Soul. John writes about the night of the senses and the night of the spirit. The first phase is a purifying of intention and motivation. The second, a process of living by radical faith and trust. John's work is used especially by those who devote themselves seriously to cultivating a spiritual life through community, meditation, and various forms of service. Less technically, the term sometimes refers to depression or to bleak and trying periods in a person's life. In my use of the phrase, I fall somewhere in between. I see a dark night of the soul as a period of transformation. It is more like a stage in alchemy than an obstacle to happiness. Usually it lasts a while. You wouldn't call a day's worry a dark night of the soul. It doesn't always end happily with some new personal discovery. In fact, we will see several examples of people who committed suicide or succumbed to illness. To appreciate these episodes as transformations in the soul, you can't judge them by any simple external measure. You have to look deep and close, understanding that you can make significant gains by going through a challenge, and yet it's not always obvious how you benefited from the darkness. Sometimes a dark night makes sense because of what it contributes to others, not what it does for you. I am always slow to label difficult emotions as sick. Usually I would rather see them as trials that make you more of a person. I keep in mind the many men and women of the past I admire, who were complicated, who were neither whole nor healthy. You will find many such people described in this book, and held up as models, even though their imperfections and failures showed luminously in their lives. In general, I place a higher value on soulfulness than on health and propriety. One chapter of my book, Care of the Soul in particular, made an impression on many readers: Gifts of Depression. I have learned from many sources, ancient medical books, thoughtful artists and writers, and the work of C.G. Jung and James Hillman, to value visitations of melancholy and sadness. I tried to be specific about the rewards that can come from depressive moods. As overwhelming and distressing as it is, what we call depression is, after all, a human experience, tied to all the other meaningful events in your life. You do a disservice to yourself when you treat your feelings of despair and emptiness as deviations from the normal and healthy life you idealize. The dark times, too, like enlightenments and achievements, leave their mark and make you a person of insight and compassion. This book begins with some strong images from ancient ritual and religion. People of the far distant past knew secrets to dealing with trying times that have been forgotten. The image of the night sea journey, the notion of catharsis, rituals to help with life passages, and a moon spirit with rather unholy but helpful blessings. Then we look at intelligence and love, how to think and how to be connected, as important lessons to learn from a dark night. Finally, we consider various aspects of ordinary life in which a dark night of the soul might well appear, in attempts to be creative, and our need for beauty, in anger, and in those times when we lose it, in illness and old age. Each of these experiences might spawn a special kind of dark night. Emily Dickinson said that her penchant for solitude was like the minor key in music, a refreshing alternative to the brighter major key. Now think of your dark nights. Could they be as useful and even as beautiful as the bright periods? Could they be moods and events in a minor key? Today, books are written explaining how Dickinson was neurotic. But she didn't think of herself as mentally ill, though she was certainly eccentric. In a similar way, I want to consider our dark nights as out of the ordinary, but not sick. The dark night of the soul provides a rest from the hyperactivity of the good times and the strenuous attempts to understand yourself and to get it all right. During the dark night, there is no choice but to surrender control, give in to unknowing, and stop and listen to whatever signals of wisdom might come along. It's a time of enforced retreat, and perhaps unwilling withdrawal. The dark night is more than a learning experience. It's a profound initiation into a realm that nothing in the culture, so preoccupied with external concerns and material success, prepares you for. When people approve only of major tonalities, they become simplistic, not only in their thinking, but in their very being. Today, many of the conflicts that threaten the peace, both at home and around the world, stem from raw, naive, and unintelligent prejudices and reactions. Passions routinely break out in violence. It takes a complex view of yourself and your fellow human beings to hold back on hatreds and fears. A mature person is complicated and has complex ideas and values. The minor tonality of a dark night adds a significant and valuable complexity to your personality and way of life. Some people speak of their dark night of the soul as though it were a challenge to be dealt with quickly and overcome. "Oh, I've been through my dark night," they say, "but now it's over." To some, what they think is a dark night may be only a taste of the soul's real darkness, especially if it is relatively quick and easy, and especially if the person experiencing it feels cocky for having gone through it successfully and quickly. The real dark night cannot be dismissed so easily. It leaves a lasting effect, and in fact alters you for good. It's nothing to brag about.